Hey guys, how are you doing? Many of you have been waiting for this video for a few months. I know there's been lots of talk in the community, lots of questions. Where's Rocco been? Where's Death been? Where's Silvio? Where's Ezio? We're bringing this long-awaited video, you guys. We have quite a few things to talk about. We'll go over where we've been as a hierarchy. We'll go over where we see Gigante going. We'll go over how shit this garbage fucking Xbox community is and our plans for that. And then, we'll talk about some FiveM. I know lots of you guys have seen different clips over the past, I don't know, 9 or so months. Just, we've made some funny videos. We've posted some more serious ones regarding FiveM, and we want to address that. Obviously, over the past summer, you guys saw us relinquish turf as far as the Xbox community goes. You saw a lot of us take a step back with activity. You guys know that, every day for years and years and years, you had Gigante hosting lobbies, you had us going in and whacking people, and we really, I don't want to take credit for the entire situation, but we really did revitalize turf wars there last year, up until the point where we held the majority of the turf and nobody was man enough to call us out, but that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, so if we want to do some introductions here, we can start off with Death. You guys know Death. He's the pilot in most of the sniping whacktages you guys have seen. Obviously, you guys know Ezio here, former Don. His reputation speaks for himself. And you guys know Silvio, a guy who's done a hell of a job sniping the shit out of people for the last 5 years. A guy who, every time we go to wars is there to back us up. And obviously Jiggy, one of the founders of the family. A guy who's taken a back seat over the last couple of years, but definitely one of the more prominent names and one that'll be remembered as far as Gigante goes. So yeah, the big thing, the real reason that we're here to talk ultimately is the Xbox community. I'm going to say this right up so everybody who's watching this knows. Gigante is absolutely not going anywhere as far as Gigante goes. As far as this Xbox Mafia community goes, I'm fucking extremely proud and happy to say we're done. The past year and a half has been an absolute clusterfuck, and it's been a real eye-opener for myself and everybody else in my hierarchy. It's fucking awful. It's really been driven into the ground. People want to bitch about turf wars and then do wars that last fucking 36 hours. There's none of what we came into, and that was you get home from when you're a kid and you're at school, you get on Xbox, you do some whacks, you go to bed. That doesn't happen anymore. People are too scared to fight people. The egos are so inflated that it's to a point where people refuse to even go into free mode wars with each other and then want to hop on second accounts. And then when they get as far as turf war goes, they don't want to call other people out. Who knows what? Who knows why? When we first came up, and Jiggy, you can speak to this. When we first came up, there were big-ass families, and all we wanted to do was go fight them and prove our fucking selves. Now you got families in other commissions, and we all know who I'm talking about, who came out of nowhere the last 2 years, and they don't want to fight any of the big families. They want to pick on Joe Schmo and his 4-man crew, or Tommy Bobami and his 10-man crew. They don't want to step to the giants, and it's been this way for X amount of months where there's no competition because nobody wants to step up. Sure, you see these big families, and that's great. It looks flashy. It looks good on a piece of paper. But ultimately, in practice, when we go into games, they don't fight us. So it's creating this culture in this community where you're not really able to weigh who is number 2. I'm not going to lie here. I'm going to be conceited. Motherfuckers, we're number 1. Nobody stepped up to us. Nobody shot me the whole time I was playing. You guys had 8 years to shoot me, and nobody did it. Nobody shot fucking Death. Nobody shot Silvio. It could be argued about the Jiggy thing. I'm not going to talk about that. But the fact of the matter is, people stepped up to the plate and they couldn't knock it out of the park. And we've been knocking it out of the park now for 9 years. So there's just nothing for us to do. There's nothing for us to accomplish. The big thing that we had wanted to do the last year was defend turf and defend Gigante and keep doing that, and nobody wants to step up. So as far as where we go and what's left to accomplish, we're all goal-driven here, right? And I'm not talking about me as Rocco, Rocco the Mook. I'm talking about me as a person. We're goal driven. And we've all fucking met our goals. There's nothing else for us to do in this community. We've been on top for how many years now? And it's to a point now where it was one thing to be on top and have people challenge us like Fallaci, where we would fight them and there'd be the power struggle. But these families now don't want to fight us. And I don't know, honestly, and I don't know if it's because they're scared and they have fragile fragile, inflated egos, or if it's just a case where, you know, they don't want to waste their time because they know they're going to lose. I don't know. But, you know, we went so many years without being defeated, excuse me, and we went so many years without anybody being able to touch our hierarchy that it just feels like people gave up. And it's real unfortunate to see that that's how the community's gotten. But I'm not going to actively, you know, preach change and preach, oh, we got to do this and do that, and then not be a part of that change. And I've said that for many years. And I think at this point it's irreparable. And it's just better off that we take a step back. You know, the community can do whatever the fuck it wants. And we can go have fun and set goals exactly as we're doing right now in 5M, and something that's more authentic and less, for lack of a better terms, retarded. So, I've really had it. This is a personal standpoint. I'll pass it to the guys here in a sec. I've really had it with going to Don's meetings and arguing about the same 5 topics with some Dons who are 16 years old and can't even tie their own fucking shoes. You know, I've said it since day one. We're out here playing chess. A lot of these kids are playing checkers. You can look at the political moves we've done in the last year. Nobody's touching us as far as that goes. So there's just no real challenge. There's no challenge in the Dons meetings. There's no challenges politically wise. There's no challenges in-game wise. There's just nothing for us to do. And Death, if I can pass it to you, I'm sure you can agree.
I was just going to talk about how it's not been just something we've suddenly decided to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, certainly.
It's like, I would say over the past, like, year and a half, even last year, we was considering doing it however we decided. We've got the time due to coronavirus or whatever, so we could easily do it another year. But at the start of this year, I think we all noticed that we don't want to carry it on for another year. We easily could and drag it out to where it's a sad kind of outlook on the crew. But I think it's just best that we shut it down. Unlike any other crews that do it, we're actually going to do it how it is properly done in the way of Xbox, or only the Xbox side of things. And when it does shut down, it will be done. I mean, that's another point we want to put down. If you can explain that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You know, we had a meeting last September, exactly a day to the year. Today's the 16th. You're going to be seeing this on the 17th, and we had a vote to shut Gigante down because our whole goal every year is we have a meet. We talk about where we want to go, et cetera, et cetera. And last year we had a talk, and you know, we decided we were going to keep it going. We were going to keep it going till 9, and we would talk because we all had time with coronavirus, excuse me. A lot of people were out of work. A lot of people were, you know, home doing homeschooling online because of the virus. So we had time to keep things going. But I want to reiterate this. That ended up being a fucking mistake because nobody stepped up to us, and we ended up sitting here flicking our dicks doing nothing. It's been a whole year of nobody wanting to fight us. So, you know, like Dev said, we don't want this to be, you know, a shell of what it was, and we're just all sitting here as Gigante and nothing's happening. We'd rather go set goals in other places and do our own thing. And as Dev said, this isn't going to be like, and I'm going to fucking point fingers at Lucione, who every couple of years fucking shut down and start back up, and Kai's got the nerve to call himself the only real godfather when he can't even keep his own crew running. This isn't going to be a situation where we go away now for a year and then, you know, a big DLC releases and we run back. We don't need this community. We've outgrown it. We're going to do this the right way, and it's a collective agreement. There's no one thing that's happened that's making Gigante shut down, right? It's not, oh, we took an L, so we're done. No. This is a group decision that we're making because there's nothing for us to accomplish anymore, and we feel we've, quite frankly, outgrown what this community can offer. So, this is the official final goodbye from Gigante in this video. You guys are not going to see us on Xbox. I want to reiterate that, Xbox anymore. We're going to be doing Gigante on 5M, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing there. But as far as Xbox, you're not going to see a restart of Gigante with, you know, different iterations of a hierarchy. This is it, guys. This is the final fucking curtain call for us. And Silvio, I mean, I'm sure you can speak on that a bit. You've been here a long time.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to 5M, it's a completely different atmosphere to what we've all wanted. You know, we all came into this community back in 2000, you know, 12, 2013, 14, 15, whenever. Everybody came in this community wanting to roleplay, you know? That was the original goal. And then it spoils into some PvP and just nonsense and drains you out. In 5M, it's exactly what we signed up for in the very beginning. Something we want to do, something we're having way more fun with, more authenticity with it. And it's for grown-ups. Listen, if you're not a grown-up, you're not going to like it. If you're a little kid, if you got this fucking diaper stuck to your ass, enjoy your Xbox is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said that better myself. Yeah, that's just how we feel about the community, and I hope that answers a lot of questions as to where we've been and why we're not going to be around anymore. It's just, quite frankly, I mean, nobody's been able to step up to the plate. It's like, we show up to the stadium ready to play and ready to get ready for our game, and the other team just doesn't show up. And yeah, okay, great, we're around, and our name still looks big and people are still worried and scared of us. But if we're not actively participating and nobody's actively showing us any competition, and there's no goals to set and to, eventually reach, we're wasting our time. And as Sil said, this community's for fucking kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 15, 16-year-old dons running around. I mean, we're all fucking grown men. We'd rather go play fucking video games with other grown men who have the same mentality and want to share the same fucking experience with how they portray themselves, either as an MC or as another mob group or as a street gang, etc., etc. And yeah, like, I hope this answers a lot of questions, but I'm sure this is going to be widely disputed in the community. People are, they have their own opinions, and I'm sure those opinions are skewed based on how they perceive us as far as rivalries, or they feel like they're rivals, I should say. But, Death brought up a good point before we started recording, and that's, we're going to do turf wars, and we're ending those turf wars within 5 minutes. I mean, we broke records as far as how quick we could end turf wars. And that's not on fucked up community
Set
rules
records.
like everybody's fucking doing. Everybody's doing these whack fucking rules where your wars are going 36 minutes. We were doing community rules. The community rules and ending free mode wars in 3 to 5 minutes. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else ever will do that. So when you talk about, oh, Gigante this, Gigante that, nobody can ever sit here and deny what we did. And I think for what the community was able to provide to us and what we were able to do for it, I don't think there's any real questions as to who the fucking top dogs were around for the last 9 years. Ezio, I know you wanted to say something on it, and I know you were definitely a guy over the past, 2 or 3 years who really wanted to keep this around.
Yeah.
You were one of the legacy savers. You were one of the guys who said, "Hey, we need Gigante around." What's the change of heart, and what made you, come on our side of it, where it
Well,
was, let's go?
it's boring. Xbox is not really a thing for me anymore. It's kind of a kid's console, if that makes sense. Like, I've been doing it since I was 15, and I'm just sick of it, kind of. I mean, 5M's fun. It's like the actual thing. It feels like that's what Gigante should be. You got the free mode wars we had with I don't know the families, make believe families, but we had there were 5 minutes. You had Silvio and Death go out there in the helicopter and whack them and take.
Yeah, not to mention while Death is consigliere this whole
Yeah,
time.
we had the hierarchy.
Yeah,
in
that's the
helicopters.
best part, is we kept our ranks real quiet, and people like to have these written, made-up lists about who they think is what and what is who. Like, they had Jiggy as Don for, the last 2 years, which is hilarious in and of itself. But, I mean, we had Death, who was our consigliere, flying around, and we had Silvio as our
Yeah.
street boss, at different times underboss, fucking sniping people. And you guys weren't able to whack them. You could have ended wars had you just focused on the heli when I wasn't in the game. But no, why would you do that when you're just gonna drive around in a Itali GTO like fucking morons? Like,
It's just
you guys really are playing fucking
was
checkers
fast.
against us.
it was just like a game. That's all it is. It's just a game.
Yeah.
A mini game is what it is.
Yeah.
We
It
should,
didn't seem like Mafia. It didn't seem like a Mafia roleplay.
No,
It was
no,
just
no.
like TDM, weird team deathmatch kind of thing, but it's just slow. I mean, I don't like it anymore.
Well, that was because
So-
it was a turf
Mhm,
wars,
mhm.
but we could go on to like our previous ranks and roles considering that.
Yeah,
was
we
the thing
can
kept
go, we
quiet.
can go over ranks here. I don't really have a problem disclosing it now. I think we should go over ranks. Do you want to do it kind of, we can kind of look at the people who are important and kind of say their ranks, because our ranks did fluctuate over the past couple of years. We'd have people take a step out, whether that was, Chav, or that was Ezio, or that was, Caesar. I know you take a step back a couple of times, but we can certainly talk about our ranks over the past couple of years. I mean, I think that's most relevant. I don't want to go back too far on it.
No, you don't have to go back that far. I was just thinking, talking about like what the end kind of ranks were, or what those
Sure.
people did as their main.
So the ending ranks, it's real simple. It's not as complicated as many would seem to think. Obviously, myself as Don. I don't think that's really a secret. I never outright said it, but I went to all the Don's meetings. So, I technically did attain the Godfather status. To us, Godfather is not a rank; it is a status. And it always has been. Jiggy has held that status at different times previous to Jiggy. As much as we don't like to mention him a whole lot, Geo did hold that status at a time. But then our underboss at different times over the past 2 years was either Ezio or Chav, sometimes Silvio. It would just depend on, how many people were around. Death has been my consigliere for 99% of the time I've been Don. And Pharaoh recently has stepped up to Street Boss. At different times that was Fat Tom. At different times it was also Silvio. It just depends because Gigante has so many different people who can be ranks and are qualified enough to be ranks that we weren't just going to create fake ranks for people. There was different times where, Silvio would be a Street Boss for a couple of months and he would go, hey, I'm taking a break. Somebody else can step up and do it. So we would kind of alternate who was where as time permitted them to be in different positions. I mean, that's been Gigante's biggest blessing is we have so many qualified people. I didn't just need to go to just Death for advice. I could go to Ezio, I could go to Silvio, I could go to Chav, I could go to Henry, who was an underboss way back in 2014 for me. I could go to Franco, who was an underboss in 2015. These are all guys that I can go to for advice if I need it. And those are guys where, okay, Silvio's got to go to school, he's got to go back to college for, X amount of months. Okay, he's not going to be able to be active. Who can step up and really take the role there? And there's an arm's list length of people. We never struggled with leadership in this family. And that's something I'm really proud of because I ultimately think that's why we stuck around. It has a lot to do with our brotherhood and how we're good friends. I mean, ultimately, that's the other thing that a lot of families didn't have is, and I'm going to point fingers at, Vetrano, Venerio, Rosicchio, whichever family or iteration, Amaro. Those guys always shot each other. And for example, I can't even say one family name. I got to say 4, because they went up and down. Those guys always shot each other. They always set each other up. They would never fully trust each other to be around and not shoot each other. You look at who we have in our family. We never shot each other. There's one exception to that. Other than that, everybody stuck together. We were all friends at the end of the day, and we all knew that Gigante came first, and we were going to do what was best for the family, not us as individuals. Sure, there was lots of times where me and Silvio have yelled at each other and fucking argued, but there's not a time where I ever thought Silvio was going to shoot me and be a fucking prick. And that's the reality of the situation. We stayed together because we were friends, and we fucking stayed together because we all, had the common goal of Gigante first, ultimately. And I don't know how many people in the community can say this. This community is driven by narcissism, ego, and fragile thinking. So, I think we really were cut from a different cloth as far as that goes, and that's why we were able to be successful for so long.
Well, yeah.
I want to add something to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, any made guy in Gigante is worth more than any Don or boss or consig in this community. That's just a simple fact. The amount of work you have to do to get up to become a made guy, the knowledge you have to have, the skill sets you need. One made guy is worth more than any Don. And Gigante is primarily composed of made guys at its core. So our entire core of, let's say, 20, 25 people, I think we can give numbers out now, is better than the whole community. There's really no competing against Gigante at that point. We can jump people in and out of ranks, put people in different roles, and it doesn't affect us. Even if the hierarchy all left, you have qualified made guys who can fill that role, and that was always a strong point. When someone eventually does leave, we had someone next in line who was able to take up that spot. A lot of these families, when their Don leaves or their consig waxed a boss or something, they're hurting. They got no one to take up the slack, and they just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Since we had a core group of people, we never had that weakness. Internal strife was never an issue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Jiggy's on that. I want to definitely give a big shout out to all the made men, all the straightened out guys, especially all the capos too, because they were putting in a hell of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will just speak on what Silvio and Tricky just said. I mean, yeah, okay. At different times we had 80 plus. There was a time there where we were at 100 plus GT changes. But the core guys, the guys that we view as the trustworthy, straightened out guys, as Sil just said, is that close 30, 35, excuse me, just to correct that number, Jiggy, because I know you're just a bit off. 30, 35 guys who were made here and who were able to really make a difference, step the fuck up to the plate. And if anything goes wrong, those are the guys where they're going to step up and they're going to pick up the slack of, whether even myself at times. There was times where I went away and wasn't able to be around and lead effectively, and those guys were able to come up, step up to the fucking plate and help out for weeks or months at a time. It just depended on the situation or who it was. But yeah, the Capos, Silvio just said, holy fuck, I cannot thank, Lenny, Pyro, and Pharaoh. I know Pharaoh's moved up now. For the last year, those guys are fucking warriors. They went on every day, keeping guys active. And to be quite honest with you, the last 6 months there was not a whole lot of help from our hierarchy. They were on leading Gigante, and we owe them a lot for the last especially 6 months of going on, staying grinding, keeping people active, and not only that, the quality of Gigante did not sync with them doing it because they were brought in the right way, because they earned their stripes. They knew the standard that we expected from them. And props to those fucking guys because they held Gigante to that standard, and they did a hell of a fucking job. So when Pharaoh and Pyro and Lenny go and run Cirillo, which is what they're doing after this, I expect that to be what Gigante was, because they know the standard, and they're gonna plant that seed in all those guys' heads as far as how we want to do things and how we did do things and why we were successful. And like I said, I just can't thank them enough for the past 6 months. They did an excellent job. And I wish them nothing but success going forward in the community. I mean, there's very few people in this community that the people in this call consider friends. And, Lenny, Pyro, and Pharaoh are people that we do. I mean, we owe them a lot. They did a hell of a fucking job. So, yeah, we owe them at least that.
While we're on the topic of capos, I kind of want to stress how important capos are for Gigante.
Absolutely.
I've over the years I've always said they are like mini dons. In fact, compared to most families, our capo pretty much is a don. You take our capo and their 10, 20 guys in their capo, they can literally break off and become their own family, and they can become a hell of a good family. That's the quality of capo we look for. So these guys, depending on where they go, you said they're going to Cirillo, but depending where they go in the future, these are top-notch guys. They are the future of this community if the community itself has a future.
Yeah, I mean, to speak on that, Jiggy said, that all the old, all our capos could be viewed as dons, mini dons, and that's something that we have planted in them, since day one. And that's something in this community where ranks are kind of handed out like candy, but being a capo in Gigante was special, and we made sure that it felt that way, and we made sure not only did it feel that way, but it was something that you were in charge of your own group, right? Your group had an identity, whether it was Il Nefesto regime or the Velvet Outfit, or the many other, we had Hell Dogs, Valentino, so many different capos over the past couple of years, and those guys really, they had their own identity, they had their own way of leading, and they did an excellent job. But you look at Pharaoh, Lenny, and Pyro, who I just mentioned 2 minutes ago. Jiggy says that they're like mini dons. Those guys were actually dons in other families before they came here. So if that says anything about the quality of Gigante and the quality of this community, there were people that are capos in our family leading their own crew who were dons and leaders of other families. That says everything it should right there. So the last thing that we want to talk about, the last major thing, and I just want to reiterate this, is, you guys have kind of looked at Gigante since the time that it began, for those who are still around, that very small number. Gigante has always been passed on, whether it was, from Gio to myself, then to Ezio, then back to me. There's always been a leader, and we consciously decided that, seeing as though I'm done, and seeing as though Ezio's done, and seeing as though Death and Silvio have mutually all agreed that this needs to come to an end, that we're not going to pass this on. This is going to be the final end of Gigante. You're never going to see the Gigante crime family on the GTA 5 Xbox community ever again. It will never happen. And I mean, it was just a decision we made together, to not let this linger on, not do what other families do. And I'm not going to fire any specific shots, but if you're listening to this, you really do know who you are. Not let the family limp on and ever get to a sad point. Nobody in this community has ever gone out on the top, and that is something that we wanted to do. That has been our whole goal over the past year. That is why we did what we did with votes, and those dons who are listening know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. That's why we did what we did with Free Mode Wars. That's why we did what we did with Turf Wars. Everything that we have done for the past year has been preparing for exactly this. So that way we could maintain the top of the food chain and go out as the top and not limp back around like so many others have. And I'm not going to lie to you. A part of me, I know a lot of people in different families, obviously, of course. And it's sad to see that there are certain people who have put so much work into their family, and then it just limps on with 2 or 3 guys, and then you see people cracking jokes about it all the time. That's not what we ever wanted. For as much as this is just a fucking game and it's just, GTA, a lot of us put a lot of time into this. For me, by the time December of 2021 hits, it'll be 9 years. And for me, just as being here, I never wanted it to be to a point where that was for nothing. And I know Jiggy, certainly being here since day one, he believes that as well. We always wanted this to, if it was ever to go away the right way. Go out on our terms. Not go out like I said, like 𝐒𝐤𝐿 because his fucking hierarchy abandoned him. No, we go out our way, as a group, as the fucking friends group, as Gigante. Ironically enough, I guess you can call this the final state of the community. People have been bitching at me for a year to make one. Here you fucking go. Fuck you all. That's kind of all we got to say on it. There's not a whole lot more that we need to add to the situation and add to this conversation. Gigante is going to go on in a more authentic way, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep being Gigante and keep that name going, just not in this shitty garbage community. Now, I will say this, if you guys are interested, Death is going to leave a bunch of stuff in the description of this video. And that's going to be for you guys to take a look at, just to see how we kept our records. So, we did things in a really unique way as far as recruitment forums, how that was filled out, how that worked, how we kept track of people, and who they were cool with, how we made sure that we didn't get shot. That this was a huge help in that. How if there was a stupid member in a game that we wanted out of the game, just kick them off tags, and how we knew immediately who that was and were able to get rid of them. I mean, hopefully some of you, if you do care about the community, you can use this as an example as to just a small part as to why we were successful, and how it's a lot more than just going into a game and shooting. There's a lot of shit that goes behind the scenes, that you guys don't see. And that's not me. That's a lot of support from Death doing a lot of the extra stuff. And I will say this right now. If there's anybody who's been absolutely helpful in Gigante the last, especially 5 or 6 years, it's Death. The guy did so much and never took credit. People didn't know his rank. They just thought he was a foot soldier and been here forever. That guy was absolutely crucial in what we did on a day-to-day basis, whether that was recruiting people, whether that was Free Mode Wars. And I don't want that to get ignored when we go away.
Death, and the management side.
Yeah, without Death, there is no Gigante. Death was as big as a part of this as I was. So he's going to get mad because he doesn't really like the spotlight.
No, I'm not.
I
just think there's loads of people.
That's
the reality
a good feature we all have. A lot of us don't like the spotlight.
You really helped out a lot, and I personally I appreciate that, because if I hadn't had somebody like that backing me up to go to Don's meetings or to bounce ideas off the wall, there would be no Gigante. Yeah, sure, okay, I get a lot of the credit because we needed a public face.
That's how we made it, though.
But, 𝐿𝐤𝐿 too, a guy that I could bounce ideas off, come to Don's meetings with me, we'll text back and forth, figure out how we can make decisions for the family. Silvio, fucking a guy, guys, we would not have been effective in wars if it was not for Silvio. Sure, I led a lot of them, but Silvio's the guy with the fucking ideas and the strategies, and here's how you go about it, and everybody brought something to the table. Even Jiggy, who hasn't been around the last 2 years, was the glue of our group. He was the guy that always said, yeah, okay, we don't talk to Jiggy a lot anymore because he's busy. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit on the video. But he was the guy that kept us together at the start. He was the guy that said, hey, here's my vision for Gigante. I always want it to be a friends group. And I don't want it just to be this GTA thing. And I think we all took that idea and said, you know what? All right, let's run with that. And that's why we're here. So you were kind of the glue that, brought us together. And I don't want that to be forgotten in the end of this. A guy I haven't mentioned is Chav. He can't be here because, he's Chav. But another guy who was exponentially helpful in many different ways, whether that was especially during 2017 when this community was at a super low point, worse than it is now. A guy who really, stepped up and helped me as a person, help lead the family. And I don't want that to get ignored. There's so many different people we could go over. So if you do see this video and you're getting left out, don't worry. We have 9 years worth of history. I can't cover it all in a 20-minute video, but nobody is forgotten in how we got here. Not one person. So it's bittersweet going away. We're so happy that we're able to keep growing and keep doing what we want to do. But, it is a goodbye to something that we all did for, X amount of years. And I hope this answers questions. Because I'm going to be honest, I know at least with me, I'm leaving all the community servers on the 17th. I'm not, I have no interest in talking to any of you. So, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to lie, I hate almost all of you.
I hate it too.
Even the people that I won't lie to you guys, fuck you. You guys are retarded. There's very few people. I would put Don Scully is somebody that I actually respect. Frank Matthews, somebody that I respect. The guys that are in Renato, most of them are okay. But the rest of you are fucking retarded. Don't forget that. You got played the last 2 years. So.
I'm just gonna bring something up. We can't forget Joe.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
he's very similar to 𝐒𝐲 in the way by he decided with 𝐒𝐲 to kind of kickstart the next
Oh yeah,
the next
chapter
back in 2018, baby.
Yeah. So I don't want to forget Joe and all this because I would say it all just comes down to the way we ran it, our friends group, and I think that all just comes down to our council and how we did it through that.
Absolutely.
That was our kind of how this entire crew was ran for the past.
I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Joe.
And I'll say this right now, just with our council, although yes, I made a lot of the decisions for us in different areas, there was never a time where I didn't at least bounce it off with the council or try to at the very least. Guys like Joe, who, everybody and their fucking mother thought Joe was a rank here. He wasn't. He was a made guy that I valued his opinion. A guy who was ever, it'll never be forgotten how much he helped us with videos, how much he helped us with ideas, how much in 2018 helped us with decisions. 𝐒𝐲 and Joe were the real ones that said, all right, you know what, we're gonna pull Gigante back, we're gonna do our thing, we're gonna bring a bunch of people in, and that brought us back. Guys like Henry, who a lot of people don't even know Henry, but fucking actually a smart guy, actually was really helpful in when I wanted to make decisions and understood what Gigante and what those standards were. So I don't want the people like that, there's a lot of people who put a lot of work in over the years, and we can't be thankful enough for what they did. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's gonna be the end. That's gonna be probably the last time. This channel is gonna keep being used for different 5M videos. I know Silvio and Caesar definitely have plans for some cinematic type videos. And I actually think it's more interesting what we do in 5M than just let's snipe on a rooftop or let's shoot somebody out of a car while they're driving by with an AR. I think you guys are gonna get a kick out of what's coming if you're still into Gigante. At the very least.
I think that was everybody's favorite part about the videos was the cinematics and the role play.
And that's going to be more front and center now. The channel's still going to be used, and like I said, I want to reiterate this: Gigante itself is not going anywhere. We're just dipping out of the community because, most of you are clowns. So, like I said, I think that's all that needs to be said, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you, if you fought us. Or if you were a member of Gigante. There's so many of you, I can't even begin to list names. Literally thousands of people over the last 9 years. Probably the last time you hear me speak on a video like this. So, with that being said, guys, buona fortuna. Thank you for watching the video.